What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this week and every week, our hopes and expectations, black holes and revelations. It's Dezrah.
And sitting across from me without a cryptic lyric is Bryan.
And every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we sit around and we discuss an old PlayStation VR game, something from the VR archives. Yes. And we blow the dust off it, and we try to figure out whether it's worth your time or not, whether it's been given any love by the developer, or if it's okay the way it was. Yeah, something like that. That being said, what game did we decide to talk about this week, Dezrah?
This week we are talking about a game that we would have talked about earlier, except that it hit during the middle of the Halloween season. And that, of course, is Astro Bot Rescue Mission.
By Sony Interactive Entertainment, more specifically, Studio Japan, Asobi team.
Asobi team.
Yeah.
Asobi.
Released all the way back October 2nd. Yeah, right at the beginning of Scary Month.
Yeah, it was one of those, like, it did hit. I'm like, oh my god, we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
But we're in Scary Month, so we need to shelve it for a little bit.
It was a sad time.
Yeah.
October 2nd, 2018, so just a month and a half ago, for $39.99.
$39.99.
And in accordance with FCC and Sony's very strict rules, we do have to mention the review keys were provided by PlayStation.
Yes.
We do. That would never affect our opinion, I promise you.
There's a lawyer right over there staring at us.
No, he's staring. That's not why he's here.
Okay.
I apologize for his presence.
Oh, you're not a Sony lawyer. Oh, okay.
So, Dez, what kind of game is Astro Bot Rescue Mission?
It's just a straight-up 3D platformer. So
it's Marvel's?
No, it's a good one.
No, refer to our Marvel's episode.
Yeah.
So Astro Bot Rescue Mission started a life all the way back, really on October 13, 2016, back when the Playroom VR hit on launch day. Yeah,
this is, a spiritual successor. Honestly, that was really like just the demo for this game, really.
Totally. Robots Rescue was just like it was like a level or two, right?
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, it was multiplayer.
Yes, that's true.
And it actually used a lot of the core tenets that Astro Bot ended up using eventually. All sorts of game mechanics and everything. It just Astro Bot seems like an exploded version of Robots Rescue.
Yeah, for those of you who play the Playroom VR, it was definitely, it stood out among the other games, to say the least. Like, I want 9 more hours of this. This is great. Why are you wasting my time with the cowboy quick draw thing?
I like the cowboy quick draw.
Actually, that was really good. That's probably one of the better
cat
ones.
and the mouse thing was like, I don't know.
That was fun because we played it with the kids, but
see
our Playroom episode.
But that's right, we did that. That was one of our first PSVR specific ones.
So, yeah.
But that was the thing, is that like the rest of the games in the Playroom, none of the rest of them called out for a full game. It was so obvious that Robots Rescue was like, I think they knew the second they created that. Oh yeah, there's more there.
Well, and if you look, actually, it's about 18 months from the day that was released to the day this got released.
So, for real?
They were basically working on it pretty much the second it hit. They were talking about it anyways, behind the scenes, but it turns out just from the fan response, they're like, oh, we really need to fast track this.
Yeah, everyone was begging from that from pretty much day one.
Yeah, the date I had was 18 months from the day of release of Playroom VR. At one point, there was actually a team of 25 people working on this.
Wow.
So it's just, considering like a lot of times we've been talking about like the more indie titles where it's a couple people in a garage somewhere, but this is pretty much full on. The total might of Sony was behind us.
Yeah. Also, as we progress through this episode, I think what's going to become abundantly clear is that there's nothing indie about this. This has the full feel of a AAA production. There's a lot of quality here.
It's finished.
It's very finished. It's very finished. It's very polished.
Yeah, you mentioned at the beginning, it's like our whole thing is like, oh, has the developers gone back, revisited, updated it, and things like that? It's like, no, and they don't need to.
I checked the patch notes today, and one of the patch notes said, fix a couple bugs or whatever. Another patch note said, improve the graphic quality.
Right.
I was like, well, I don't know when that patch happened, but man, I checked it today and I was like, well, the graphics are still amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right, but let's start. Let's pull back a little bit.
Okay.
The first question I asked was what kind of game is this? And you said it's a third-person platformer action game.
Yes, but that needs some expansion.
Well, it sure does because that's a pretty vague answer, right?
Right. I mean, it does a really neat trick of, yes, it is a third-person platformer.
Mm-hmm.
You have the little, I think Captain Astro is his name. You're kind of moving around. He basically works like a little remote control robot. You move around with the DS4, but it's also first person in that you are in the game.
You're in the game.
Yes.
Yep. So that means a couple of different things. It means that your DualShock 4.
Yeah.
The thing. So not only does the analog stick control the little Astro Bot running around the ground, and the X button makes him jump, and you hit the X again, and he kind of hovers in the air.
Right. He's got little laser boots.
Exactly. And so he hovers, shooting lasers out of his boots, which is awesome. And that's and other than like holding the attack button. Like I think square attacks.
Yes.
And if you hold the attack button,
He kind of charges up and can spin around. And
right, it's a more powerful attack. And that's sort of the extent of the controls,
Right.
which is awesome. Because I think when you make a third-person platformer action game, like the simpler the better. Like my favorite
Absolutely.
third-person platformer, maybe of all time, is the original Jack and Dexter Precursor Legacy, and the controls are almost identical to this.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. But then with the addition of yourself in the game, it's crazy because now the controller that you're using to control Astro Bot
is there in the game.
actually exists in the game world.
Yeah, and this is the same trick that Static was able to pull off, and basically like making the DualShock 4 part of the game environment. Now there they kind of masked it by having your hands inside the box, but here it's very clear like you are part of the game. The controller is part of the game, and your presence in the game is a game mechanic. You need to be looking around, checking out the environment. You need to smash your head through stuff.
You need to avoid when some things are shot at your face.
Yeah, and there are many enemies that not just, I mean, you've got your little Astro Bot has to avoid enemies, but there are enemies that will aim at you specifically, spit gobs of goo at your face so you can't see and whatnot. You are absolutely immersed in this world.
And I think a lot of people, when we say not only are you controlling a third person character in the game, but you're in the game as a first person, a lot of people are going to go, oh, it's like Moss. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's more than that.
No, in Moss, you get the sense of presence in there, and you are sort of, gently helping every once in a while.
Right.
But with this, I mean, you have to engage with the environment to such a huge degree. Just the easiest example, in each level of the game, there are 8 Astrobot, 8 other bots that you have to find, the ones you're rescuing. And they're mostly pretty well hidden. I mean, some of them are fairly obvious, some of them are incredibly difficult, and you will never ever find them unless you just happen to crane your neck at just the right angle and look at just the right place.
Yeah. So the DualShock 4 is in the game.
Yes.
But sometimes that becomes something more than just a DualShock 4.
Right. There are 3 gadgets that you eventually unlock for different levels. One is a grappling hook. Basically, you kind of flick the touchpad and it shoots out a grappling hook. There is a water cannon. And then a shuriken or a ninja star thrower. Yeah.
It's also a pretty awesome flashlight.
Oh, that's right, the flashlight. I totally forgot about that. Yes.
I only remember that because I went back and played the Ghouls and Ghosts level today.
Right. Those are the ones that, like you kind of add on when you hook up. The flashlight is just a game mechanic that level, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It does. So the gadgets actually, as you're progressing through the level, all of a sudden this toolbox-like thing will show up with a little slot in it for your DualShock, and you pop that in there, and you get the weapon.
Yeah, so just an extra level of immersion, an extra level of extra game mechanic.
And that's actually one thing I kind of like, I'm pulling a lot of sort of little mini Des nuggets from a fantastic article that I think it was Road to VR just released like 2-3 days ago, basically talking with the design team and some of the background behind it. And that was actually a big part of it. The first third of their development time was just an experimentation with the game mechanics.
Really?
Before art, before any other stuff, it was just like, we're going to spend 6 months just on experimentation. And there were a bunch of different gadgets they thought about, but they wanted each gadget to have at least 3 different use cases for them to use it. So for instance, like the grappling hook, it can be used to fire a rope across to let your character kind of jump across. It can be used to fire that grappling hook and actually pull and destroy stuff. And it can actually be used for, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but there are other purposes.
Yeah.
So they actually had a vacuum and a magnet attachment they thought about, but they couldn't come up with enough uses for it, so they shelved it.
You ever played a Luigi's Mansion?
Yeah, right?
There's so many uses for vacuums. So let's see. So I don't know. There's you mentioned having to like kind of look around.
Yes.
Right. So on Viewer Takeover a couple weeks ago, we mentioned the best way to play VR is in a swivel chair, and I don't think that pertains to any game as much as it pertains to this game, because I was playing today.
Yeah.
DualShock 4 again, no move support,
No.
and this is not a game you're going to miss move support in. Like you need the fast action reflexes of DualShock 4. You want your analog sticks, you want your X button, everything.
But it just wouldn't really make sense for a move controller.
It wouldn't make sense
Because you don't have hands. So
if it had aim control support, I think everyone would be happy. There's a sect out there that wants aim support for everything. Okay. Yeah. So I was playing on my couch, and I kept having to turn around, and next thing I know, I'm on my knees. 180 degrees, like turned away from the TV, and somehow the tracking on on the PlayStation VR is incredible. Like absolutely no issues with that at all. It was awesome, but that's what you're doing constantly. You're looking around. You're listening for the hidden astrobots. And you're looking up, you're looking down. This really does, for a game that looks like it's Crash Bandicoot and plays basically every level is down a corridor. There's so much more going on the outskirts of this corridor in every direction, and you really just have to keep your eyes open and wear headphones, which kind of sucks because when you wear headphones, you can't hear the noises that are coming out of the DualShock 4.
Yeah, it is funny. Like people, because now it's like, are you playing Astro Bot again? Like, how do you? Oh, that's right, because the DualShock is making all this noise. The other thing I want to point out is not just being in the corridor, and not just your perspective being important because you're looking around. Your perspective is important because it really messes with like your attachment to Captain Astro or the little character, because sometimes he's right in front of you moving around, but other times you have to control him and he's like way over there.
Yeah.
And it's just it becomes, I don't know, it becomes more engaging, more terrifying because like, oh, I can't do anything if he falls. I mean, you can't do anything if anything bad happens here either. But the fact that he's like so far away, especially just like every modern 3D platformer, there are, let's say, like minecart or racing levels, and those he's just zooming wicked far away from you. You can just barely see him and barely control him. It's it really adds this extra level of. I never feel as bad when he dies as I do when like Quill dies. For some reason, like he's super cute and everything, but I don't have that awful feeling. But it is you get a little wrapped up in him.
It feels more like a platformer than Moss ever did.
Yeah,
because. I swore quite a few times when I was playing this game today, because it's not the easiest game ever. It definitely has some solid challenge to it, and so very often you're like, you will have to play the same small little section. Luckily, there's checkpoints everywhere.
Yeah,
you have to play the small section over and over and over and over again, so you get it right. And eventually, once you get it right, you're like, oh, I should have gotten that the first time.
Yeah,
but sometimes you just don't see the pattern. You don't see exactly what you're supposed to do to make it easy, But it feels, I'm going to say, it feels more like a game than Moss ever did. Moss definitely has a story it's telling. It's an experience it's trying to like impart on you. Whereas Astro Bot is a third-person platformer game, and it always feels like a game, no matter how immersive it is.
Yeah, Astro Bot is story here, gameplay here. Moss is story here, gameplay here.
Yeah, but I will totally agree with you though. Our little Captain Bot is the most adorable thing on the face of the planet. Yep. Like we need like an Astro Bot little plushie doll or something sitting right here for all eternity, because is adorable, right? He's got these big LED eyes, right? They're like lit up, or digital eyes, whatever you want to call them. He's kind of like short and fat, I guess. Right?
Well, I mean, you guys have seen him, right? If you own a PlayStation 4, you've seen this bot.
And if you've seen him run around, when he runs around is my favorite thing, because he kind of runs around with his arms and legs flailing.
So it looks like a toddler.
So it looks like a toddler. And then he'll like wait, like he's supposed to be doing something very important. He runs by your vision and he waves at you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, pay attention to what you're doing. Like he is very much like a toddler. Like, Daddy, look at me, look at me. I'm like, oh Jesus.
Well, I think it was last week. It was either viewer takeover or the live show. We talked about getting hints from characters in the game. And they're like, I want to see a character that goes, eh. And actually, he'll do that.
Yeah.
It's like if you can't find something you're supposed to, not sure where you're supposed to go, he'll kind of look at you and like, oh, over there. The other thing, if he's idle, he whips out a headset and just kind of sits there playing. I don't know what he's doing.
Right. I mean, that's about as meta as it gets, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know.
Although here's another little thing actually they didn't put in the game that we were going to. When he was idle, he was going to start humming along to the theme song. But they actually found that like the kind of the spatial sound of the actual soundtrack versus him coming out of the it just didn't quite work or sound as good as they wanted it to. So they scrapped that.
So there are 213 Astrobots that you're hunting down.
Yep.
That is the mission of the game. It's called Astro Bot Rescue Mission. At the beginning of the game, you're the captain of the ship, and man, stuff goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, big scary alien comes, smashes up the ship. You know what? The plot doesn't.
It doesn't
really
matter.
Yeah.
But 213 little Astrobots go flying out into all different directions in the galaxy. They end up on five different worlds.
5 different worlds with 5 different levels each, but only 4 of the levels have bots in them. So you've got 20 levels there with 8 bots each, which is only 160. So that means...
It means you got to find chameleons.
There are 53 other bots hidden throughout the game.
So chameleons...
Yes.
This brings it back to the first person thing again, the fact that you are a character in this world. Because as you're going through the level, each of the levels has a hidden chameleon. And the way you find the chameleon is by looking at it.
Right. And you've got to look at it, actually stare at it for a couple of seconds so the game knows, oh, you really saw it, and then it slowly expand.
Yeah.
Like the first one I saw, I didn't know they were part of the game.
Same.
And I saw like, oh, where's that enemy? Okay, and oh, it's gone now. Okay, well, I don't know what happened to that enemy, so I'm going to keep moving on. And yeah.
It's so satisfying when you find it. Because yeah, it's something different. It's like you when you first play through a level... When I first played through this game, I was just playing through it for review.
Yeah.
And so I basically rushed through the entire game. I think it took me like 6.5, almost 7 hours to get through.
Okay.
Just blasting through from beginning to end. And I think I accidentally found one chameleon the whole time. Right? I was just like running through. I was like, "What's that?" And it's like,
boom, it exploded.
I don't know what that was. And and then it unlocked a challenge stage. Oh, I should probably say.
Yeah.
That's what the chameleons do. They unlock challenge stages.
And the challenge stages are a whole other type of game. In some cases, they take a mechanic from that level. So, you get the chameleon from, level 2, world 3 or whatever. And in some cases, the challenge will be just like, oh, there was a cool mechanic in that level, and we're going to expand it into its own kind of mini level. Sometimes it's you have to get X amount of points, or you have to go through at a certain speed. And you also revisit every boss from every world as part of the challenges as well. This isn't just simply, though, oh, you're going to do the same level you just did at a faster rate. It's a completely new way of playing with the same mechanics at that level.
Yeah, and even when you have to refight the bosses, it feels different. Very often, it's you have to get through those boss fights without ever getting hit.
Right.
And
now you've been through it a few times, so you kind of know all the patterns and whatnot.
Yeah, and I gotta say, like, I don't know. I'm not normally. I think a lot of times boss fights aren't implemented very well in games, and which because usually it changes up the gameplay.
Yeah,
which is my least favorite thing. Like the game. As you go through games, you learn all these different gameplay styles, gameplay mechanics, all these different things that you get better at a game. And boss battles are supposed to, if they're done well, they're supposed to basically take all the things you've learned and create one experience.
Yeah.
That kind of tests all those abilities.
Yes. And
so often these days, it's like it goes to a different perspective, or it introduces a new mechanic just for the boss fight, and you're like, what? Why are you doing this? What's going on? But Astrobot actually does it perfectly.
Yeah.
And I always found that all the bosses in Astrobot are so much fun to fight.
Yeah. The whole thing is just ridiculously capital C charming. Like, and the bosses, they're super fun. They're well animated. They're challenging, and they're really they're just delightful. I mean, I can't think of a better word for it.
I got a better word.
Yeah.
They're huge.
They're also huge.
The
Yeah.
sense of scale in this game is amazing. You go through the levels, and very often you're like you're like looking around the level, and you're getting the sense that the level itself is gigantic, especially when like Captain Astro is so small. You know, and the sense of scale works. And then when you finally get to the end of the stage and you fight this gigantic boss that's taking up the entire breadth of your vision.
Yeah.
It's insane. It works so well.
There's one of the later bosses that I again, I don't want to spoil too much, because one of the the delights of this game is just constantly like being surprised by what they've done. Like, but anyway, so one of the later bosses, I just happened to have the social screen on, and my wife was on the couch next to me. Like, oh my god! And she's just like, she's only seeing it on the flat screen, and she's just getting really just emotionally invested in it as well. It's just brilliantly done. And that kind of gets me to my other point. We've been gaming for
Ever.
decades. Yeah, for forever. So to get a game that can actually make me like laugh and say, oh my god, just because something has surprised me in it. Like, there's at one point this flower pops up. Like, why is there a flower by field of view? And you go, and it blows off it's a dandelion head. And so, like, there's nothing else to do with it. So you just, and all the dandelion seeds fly away. And okay, that was just there to be cool and fun.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I think this sort of speaks to the level of polish that the entire game has. I saw that patch note today, and that the graphics had been improved, and I was like, okay, well, I don't know if this patch happened before or after the last time I played it.
Yeah,
but I dropped in and I was like, man, it's so easy to kind of like, Astro Bot won our overall best PSVR game on the PlayStation VR award show, and we saw a lot of comments that were like, oh, that's ridiculous. Astro Bot shouldn't have won best PSVR game. That's obviously it should have gone to Resident Evil 7. It should have gone to Firewall. Blah 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 blah. And then and every time I dig a little bit, it turns out that those people haven't played Astro Bot at all. And so I haven't played Astro Bot, I don't think since launch.
Okay.
So so over a month and a half. And hearing those comments and kind of having not played it for a while, I was sort of like, man, were we victims of like the hype surrounding it, and that those first moments where you get into it and you go, were we really excited for something just because it was new and shiny and different? And I dropped into it today and I was like, holy crap, this is actually better than I remember it looking, better than I remember it sounding, better than I remember everything. The graphics in this game, it's so crazy to look at this and go, because so often in VR we say it's not the graphical fidelity that gets us.
Yes.
It's not, the resolution is so good and the texture quality is so great. That's not what gets you in VR.
Right.
It's the immersion level.
Yes. And
this game kills it somehow on both levels.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not realistic graphics,
right,
but it is amazing looking, and it's not a realistic world, but is a real feeling world.
Yeah.
You feel like you're in this actual place, and it's kind of shiny, a little cartoony, a little smooth,
a little Toy Story.
Yeah, but it absolutely feels like a real place. And for those of you, if you're out there saying, "Oh, it shouldn't," I did play it for 5 minutes and still shouldn't have won. Here's some Metacritic. It is the 5th highest rated PS4 game of 2018.
Wow. Not
PSVR. PS4 rated. Okay, that's it got 90 out of 100 from 38 different critical reviews.
Wow.
It is the number one PSVR game of all time. So from launch to now, it's the number one PSVR game. And this is Metacritic. It's a 5 out of 5 on the PlayStation Store. Okay. It's one of the few titles to get that. I looked it up on Amazon for the physical copy. Out of all the ratings, it only has 1 4-star rating, 1 3-star rating, no 2-star, and no 1-star reviews.
Wow.
Do you know how hard it is to have any product on Amazon with no 1-star reviews?
Yeah, that's insane.
There are people who just like, I love this, and click the wrong button. I mean, this is insane. It's the first game that Road to VR gave it a 10 out of 10 for. So this isn't just us. This is like universal critics and players. There's something special here.
Yeah. So So I don't know if I agree with 10 out of 10 though.
Okay.
And I don't want to dive straight into like our rating yet.
Oh yeah, no, this is just refuting those people who were like, it shouldn't have won. It should have won.
Do you have any problems with this game?
Yeah, there's one common complaint I hear about it that I disagree with. I think it's a design choice, but you, the character you can only move in one direction. In fact, you really don't move at all. Just as Captain Astro moves through, you kind of get dragged along with them, and then you can't backtrack.
Right, the level only scrolls forward, not backwards.
Right, and that is classic platformer. Super Mario Brothers, you couldn't move backwards.
Super Mario Brothers 1.
Yes, and
but they fixed that in Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3 and World and 64.
But
every the thing, it's when Super Mario Brothers did it, they didn't allow you to go backwards. The screen stopped scrolling.
Yes,
you couldn't run back.
Correct.
You couldn't run back and just run into the back of the level in this, but you just couldn't see it. You just couldn't run past the edge of the screen.
Right.
In this, you can actually turn your head around.
Yes.
You can start running into the background, but you just get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Right.
So if somehow the game stopped you from traversing from whence you came, I'd be like, okay, it's a design choice, and I'm sure it was a design choice.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it was a design choice because they didn't want to like induce motion sickness. I think they wanted to make this a game for everybody, and I think that if they started pulling the camera backwards to allow Astro Bot to start running back in the opposite direction, I think people were starting to lose their lunch, and I think they said we can't let that happen. I just feel like they wanted to make this a game for everybody, and they wanted to make sure that nobody gets sick. Design choice, sure, and I have no problem replaying the level to get something that I missed.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't feel. It just feels so strange to be able to still run back that way, but be hindered by the camera choice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see that. Like in my research, I didn't see anyone saying that was the reason.
Yeah.
That they did that. Mostly it was a choice because we want people to kind of go through and explore and see that and like, oh, geez, I missed that. Well, I'm gonna have to go back later.
Yeah.
Although I will say the Asobi does have their 4 design pillars. Their games must be magical, innovative, which is we're
putting that on a t-shirt.
Yep. Playful and inclusive. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's the inclusivity.
Inclusive meaning they want everyone to be able to enjoy their game.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I don't think it's game breaking. I don't think it's a big issue. I just think it is something that needs to be mentioned when you say, when you try to give a game a 10 out of 10 and then you say, oh, but you can't, backtrack.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
sure.
For me, like, I think for me, like, in a nutshell, this is the Super Mario 64 of this generation. Super Mario 64 came out and everyone was like, oh, that's what you can do with a platformer in 3D. Because, it wasn't the first 3D platformer. Not by a long shot, as far as I know. Right? I don't know.
PSVR's first 3D platformer?
No. Super Mario 64. Was that the first 3D platformer?
No.
No, I don't think so.
No.
No, but it was the first one that like, oh, you can make a good version of this.
Yeah.
And Astro Bot is not the first 3D platformer in VR either.
Nope.
But it's the first time everyone can look up and say, oh, you can get good at this.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there are some kinks. There's some things that design choices or consequences, however you want to put it. But I think in general, it's a phenomenally successful experiment. I guess honestly, I think if anything, there is a level of frustration, especially with some of the boss battles. They just get real hard. And in this game that's supposedly so just, hey, we're here about being delightful and fun and cute and like just enjoying playing a game.
Yeah. Just
suddenly to have like the difficulty level ramp up so much, all of a sudden it's a little breaking for me. I think that's probably my only complaint. So,
and just a few more notes before we do get onto the rating. There's a few things. There's a few things that are just really magical about this.
Yeah.
And I don't know a better way to say it than that. First, the music in this game.
Music is great.
It accompanies every level so perfectly, and I think it's because of the graphical style and because of like the almost Katamari like music, and because Astro Bot's such a ham. It all just works together you're gonna hear people say this all the time, but I have to say it again because this is the first thing that happened to me when I played this game. I think I smiled for 6 hours straight.
Oh yeah. This is a big goofy grin game. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like a lot of games, I've played a lot of games that are fun to play, but like they don't make me happy.
No.
Like I love playing Firewall, but it certainly doesn't make me happy.
No.
Like I enjoy playing it, but you'll very seldom see me smile when I'm playing it. This game, pretty much nonstop.
Right. I will laugh out loud, not because something funny happened, just because something so amazing and surprising. And I really like. I have actually a list of some of the worlds. I was like, oh, I want to talk about this. This was amazing. I was like, no, I don't want to do that because if you haven't played this yet, I want you to have the same kind of surprise. And it's also too, like they throw these mechanics during the game that are so intuitive. Like they don't have to explain to you how to deal with the situation. It's just like I'll spoil one. There's the soccer playing robots, and they're just these robots that are just kind of kicking a soccer ball. All of a sudden, it kicks it right at you, and you're like, oh, what do I do? Oh, wait, boom! I'm gonna bop it with my head, and sure enough, there we go. And there's a mechanic right there.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff happens all the time. There's really no point where they have to stop the game and explain, oh, this is how you do this.
Yeah. And if you're a PlayStation fan, if you've been a fan of PlayStation for a long time, there's going to be like all these little nods and everything to where we came from. Well, it's some of them are real simple. Like the first boss battle plays out on top of a PlayStation 1.
I totally didn't get that.
No.
Okay.
And almost every character that you kill explodes in
I did notice that.
A little collection of the sacred symbols, man. They just kind of the triangles, circles, and squares into the ether. It's just so it's magical. It's a love letter to PlayStation. It is you can just tell how much love was really put into this. Yep. These guys, I think somebody at Sony said, take your time, get it right, and let us know when you're done.
Yeah, and they've definitely thrown down the gauntlet for everyone after this. Like, I am terrified for people who are in development on a platformer right now. Because they've basically gone back and like, oh, we have to throw everything away.
Okay.
Yeah. Marvels.
I want to know what Marvels 2 is going to look like. Yeah.
Brought to you by Team Asobi.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, what do you think? Should we rate this sucker?
Absolutely.
All right.
Our rating system is pretty easy to explain. It's just three little numbers. Number 1 is yes, you should buy it. If you have a PSVR, this has got to be in your library. It is just the best of the best of what the platform can do. 2 is sure, pick it up. If it's on discount somewhere or if it's a genre that you particularly like, it's worth your time. We're not going to make fun of you for it. And 3 is no, do not buy this game. Friends don't let friends buy junk. We need to vote with our wallets. Not mullets, but wallets.
If I had a mullet, I would vote with it all the time.
Yep. We need to vote with our mullets. Oh, my God.
You didn't mean to do it that time.
I did not mean to do it that time. And anyways, and tell developers that we will not stand for this treatment. So 1, 2, or 3. What do you think? It's the first 4. Send it back.
I love Marvels. It's a different episode altogether.
Yes.
That's a siren on our side, by the way, not yours. Yeah, there he goes. I love Marvels. I think it's a fun game. I think it was well done. But I think Marvels is what happens when you take a PlayStation 1 game and you kind of jam it into VR.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of no frills. It's like it could totally be done on a flat screen. It's just, okay, now I can look around this world and, I'm sort of in it, but it's all kind of flat and polygonal. I think Astro Bot's what happens when you take a bigger, less independent team and you go make a 3D platformer specifically designed for VR.
Yes.
And take advantage of every possible aspect that you can.
Absolutely.
Team Asobi means play in Japanese. And I think that Team Asobi never forgot what it meant to play a game.
Yep.
I think from beginning to end, from conceptualization to completion, they said we want to make this thing fun. We want to make it enjoyable. And they nailed it, like on every single level possible. I threw out a couple of random complaints just to make sure that you guys know that we're looking at it from every angle.
Yeah.
That we're not letting our clear love of this game like blind us completely, but let it blind us completely, because by all means, this is a game I can't imagine anybody not enjoying, and it probably gets the biggest one I've ever given since we started this show.
Yeah, this is no doubt a Windmill Slam 1. You need to get this game. This is taken place of almost anything else I'd recommend for people like, oh, what should I play my first time in VR? This is the answer for almost everybody.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone who I wouldn't say, yeah, you should try this game. Maybe if you're really, really self-serious about gaming and think it's only about people with guns running around, I guess, but you're probably not our audience anyways. So
yeah, they're not watching.
This is and we didn't even mention a whole other type of playing of this game. You go back into the ship.
Yeah.
And you unlock as you find the bots, they come into the ship and you can go and just hang out with the bots. And oh my God,
and you can use all the coins to use the claw machine and find parts from the levels and create miniatures of the levels. There's so much going on.
And this is actually also, it's cute and it's fun. It's also them showing off.
It is.
Because once you start getting in the hundreds of these bots, they will still follow you around.
Yeah.
And it's not a particle effect. It is individually animated bots all following you around, and not just mirroring what you're doing, traversing the environment inside there. So I was just, I was basically gathering them all up and sending them through all the trampolines and all that.
Nice.
My system isn't even stuttering. I can't even think, give me your highest end gaming PC and it would be choking on what's happening right now. So
I just love throwing the giant beach ball their way, and then they're all like, "Oh, it's just adorable, man! It's adorable, man! I want a full size Astro Bot to snuggle with."
And if you do play it, and you do beat it, I can't imagine why you wouldn't do this. But watch the credits. Yeah. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Beat the game. Jeez, definitely. There's so much here. We didn't really talk about it. We said one run through is about 7 hours. That doesn't include the challenge mode. That doesn't include going back and finding all of the hidden bots.
Yeah.
I think easily you're gonna spend 14 to 15 hours in this game.
I would say if you are the god of platformers and just I'm gonna smoke through this. Yeah, maybe closer to 10, but realistic human beings, 14, 15 hours is very, very expectable.
If anybody 100% of this game in 10 hours, I'd be baffled, man, because I think you have to play every level at least twice.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I'm sure there's somebody out there.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right. So as I think that pretty much does it for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. As always, in the comments below, we want to know what your thoughts on Astro Bot Rescue Mission are. Did you did you stay away from it because you thought it was a kid's game? Were you pleasantly surprised once you tried it? We want to know all of your thoughts.
Yeah.
Also, what are the games you want us to talk about? That's also another siren on our end. Jesus, they're active tonight, aren't they?
They are. What
are the games you want us to talk about? We're definitely, now that we're out of the Halloween season, we did Two the Top last week, we did Astro Bot this week. Who knows what we're doing next week? Although, boy, do I have a surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
Meaning we have a surprise for all of you. Yeah, cover your ears, cover your eyes, cover your nose, because you don't want to inhale any of this, I promise you.
I'm really terrified now.
For another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR, I'm Brian Paul.
I'm Dezrah.
And we'll see you next week.